Welcome to the Conscious Creators Podcast, where we explore the real science of manifestation. We'll take you from mind mastery to self mastery. We'll share the yogic wisdom and its relation to neuroscience. We'll also explore quantum science and its relation to meditation. It's going to be an exciting journey, so if you feel stuck or overwhelmed, this is the right place to be. Get ready to go from the internet to the conscious net, because I believe this is going to be a mind-bending journey and give you the possibility to unlock your full potential. Welcome again.
Raja, tell me a little bit about what this podcast is about.
Well, so how I started was, in the recent last couple of years, but really, the pandemic has really changed our world. And I went through a lot myself, but not only myself. I have realized that this is the first time, I was thinking about it a couple of days ago, that I want to start this podcast, but what is kind of a background to it? And I realized that this is the first time in human history that something like this has happened. It really has changed our world, right? So when we talk about Corona, it stopped the whole world. You remember the times when the early part of it, it was so scary. I actually was working, it's just like 9/11. I exactly remember where you were, it's the same thing with Corona. That's how big effect it had on it.
For sure.
It just stopped the whole world. Everything, there was no flights going anywhere. People were afraid to get out, do this or that. All this stuff was going on. And that's when everything gets shut down. You cannot go to work. You cannot do your basic daily routines, because you can't even go out to the grocery store. So now you are sitting and looking yourself. I kind of looking at yourself in the mirror. Now you're starting to kind of doing a, forced meditation of looking at within yourself that where is my life and what's happening. And so you have a fear and at the same time, looking at yourself, and that makes it even worse. And what we are experiencing in this country, but not only in the recent year, but for so many years that, health has been an issue, the drugs and all that, even from the time of Ronald Reagan, right? That's when all this drug stuff started, the say no to drug kind of thing. That's what I remember, But then in the 90s, the world changed. So there is a shift in consciousness going on. People had to look at themselves in the mirror, and a lot of people are not happy. So we see this unhappiness. We are so feel like something we haven't achieved, and I was one of those people too. For a long time, I started thinking about what, even though I'm very close to retirement, I'm going to be retired next year. I say that every year, but I think I'm going to stop, but that's just not for me. So that experience made people start thinking. And not only that, but people were starting what in the marketing terms we call the FAPs, the financial, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, all these energies are shifting, and people are so confused, not sure what is going on. And so my daughter, and this was one of my driving force, because my daughter stayed at home and working from home, and she went through so much trauma. It was, because they are not used to staying at home. This younger generations, they want to be out on the weekends, do things, not only that, but sitting and looking at yourself is very, very hard. And
yes,
that's what this whole podcast is about, trying to figure out what is that shift happening. And not only when we are getting control of the Corona, there is another pandemic I feel that's going on in our world, what I call the fear epidemic. Not a pandemic, but an epidemic. We can see that in our world, right? People are depressed, there is so much stress and anger, anxiety. I see people, in the traffic, honking and flipping each other off, and it's like there's no patience. So that whole shift is happening. And at the same time, people are trying to create the life that they want to create, and every time I turn to some kind of a podcast or something, it's always about, oh, I want to create this, get more clients, do this, do that, the manifestation. And
Yes.
that's where a lot of this stuff shift is happening, but we are not aware of where we are going and what's happening. And we, as I'm sure you've heard it, and we talk about it, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yeah.
But keep on forgetting that part of it, that we have so much power, unlimited power. We can be, do, or have anything, and we can manifest the life that we want. I have done that. I have had a lot of struggles in my life, but when I start telling that to my kids, my daughter especially, right? She always, I told her to come with me on the podcast one of these days. So she will be on here one of these days. But that going through that, okay, we want the life to go in certain way, but it doesn't work that way. The life takes you in the other way, because you want to go this way, the life takes you that way. And at my age, I've been through that journey, and I'm saying, okay, you want to manifest something, but the whole idea, the process of manifestation is totally different. You have to go in a different way. You have to allow the universe to help you, to do it for you. You have to get out of your own way. You cannot block your own blessings. And that's what, that's how. Oh, that was a long-winded answer, wasn't it?
I love it.
That's what the whole current situation, and how so I wanted to do a podcast where I can talk about my experiences and what I can help people. My way of saying things and doing things is a little bit different. I come from a different culture, different world, different era, different time. I feel so old. At least my mind is okay, but my body and my thinking is starting to, because I have seen, really, when you sit and think about it, I have seen the times that the radio was the only entertainment. The TV weren't even there. Now, can you imagine if in today's age, if I take away your TV and your phone, the whole life will be screwed up. You wouldn't know what to do.
Especially the phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
in general, we're addicted to our phones.
Yeah, so that's what, the whole idea is. I wanted to bring on something where it kind of bridges the past and the present and the future, where everything we are going, what I see happening, and how, I come from India, so it's a different world, so how we can fuse it together. So
okay, I got to make a note of something, because I want to ask you a question. But before I ask you that question, tell me a little bit about you, your story.
My story.
Where are you from?
I am originally from India. So I've been here for 40 years, almost 45 years. I think, almost 45 years. I came here in 80. So at that time, I was 20. And just like everybody else, you come here for the American dream. You want to get rich, and, life is easier here and all that stuff, right? So I came, an early part of my life, I was a chef by profession. I went to chef school in India, and then I came here, and I started a restaurant. Actually, I started dishwashing for a long time before I started my own restaurant. So quite a few years, then I put money together, and I experienced that American dream. Everybody comes here for the, to create their own business and have success. So early part of my life, when I came here, in the early 20s, I opened my first restaurant. I think I was 24 years old, So at an early age, I got married when I was 20. Yeah. So. Yeah,
that I did not know.
Yeah, that, I came here, I met Dolly, my ex-wife. I met her in college in 1978. Then we dated for a couple of years. Well, the word now we can say dated, but we were hiding from the whole world. I mean, in India, those days, the dating and all that was not allowed. So we used to, sneak out and, go here and there, meet, find people to say, okay, who's gone? Somebody's parents were not at home, so we'll go and hang out there, stuff like that. But then we came here. I came here. I put on some money together, went back to get married. So 80 is when I got married and my whole life started. So that was the early part of it. I got my houses and the cars and the boats and all that stuff and that wonderful life, early part. My kids were born. So that part I experienced and everything was great. But then in 2008, just, well, now go back quite a few years ago, everything went downhill, and I lost my restaurants, my houses, cars, all that. I mean, it was a bad, bad time. And the worst thing was I got divorced at that time and I thought I was about to lose my kids. So I went back home to try to figure out spiritual journey, trying to find myself. So everybody wants to go to India and trying to figure out, okay, so even though I was from there, I went back and trying to figure out why it was so easy when I came to start my life. And what was I missing now that when I'm trying to put things together or when I'm struggling, so that's when I started my life. They say life begins at 40, but in my case it began at 50. So that last 10, 12 years was really that part. I started learning everything. I went back home, tried to figure out what was going on. But basically my father was a karma yogi. My grandfather was a hatha yogi, not the hatha yoga that we call here, but hatha yogi is like a stubborn yogi, so they have a lot of control over mind. And he was this is about 120 years ago, I think now, that they were working for the king of Baroda. So every time they do, the king would give them houses and land and money and all that. So that's how we got the riches, in India. So my father was a landlord. And so we did a lot of farming and lands and all that stuff. We still have a temple in India. But I didn't want to be there. That was not my calling, I guess. Now I know it wasn't a calling, So I wanted to come here. I wish we would have kept all that land. Now I wouldn't have to work. I would be retired much earlier. But that was my journey. So I learned about that yoga thing. I went back. I figured out what it was, what was stopping. So I came back, put the life back together. And then of course the pandemic happened and all that. So that's my journey from India to here. Thank you for tuning into another enlightening episode of the Conscious Creators Podcast. We hope you found inspiration and insights that will empower your life journey. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this podcast to help spread the wisdom so it can reach more seekers of truth and transformation. Your engagement really fuels us. Stay connected with us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and download our app or join our thriving community. Remember, between where you are and where you want to be, the only thing that comes in the way is your mind. It's all about going from mind mastery to self-mastery. Until next time,